Hello and welcome to the channel. So today we're doing the 2023 book wrap-up for the fully booked penguin, myself. So I read a total of 45 or so books last year, and that's not a lot, but for getting back into writing and for having, well, health issues, it was a start. And so this year I can only go up. I can only get better. So really, it's a good starting point. I was going to use Storygraph to look up my stats and go through all the books, but Storygraph decided that they were going to be down for maintenance. I've already set up. I've already got the area ready. I've already, gotten ready. So we're just going to have to do it without Storygraph. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I am asked the question, do you want to hear the good news or the bad news first? I always go with the bad news. So we're going to start with DNFs, which I think one series I started and I got through book 1 and then I stopped. I DNF'd book 2. But there were issues with that series, so I will talk about them in a second. The first book is Dragon's Kiss by E.A. Winters, and it's the first book in the Blood and Flame saga. Now, this was an Instagram reel choice. So I saw it on Bookstagram, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And so I downloaded this book. Now, I actually ended up reading the first, little bit, and then me and my brother read the rest of that chapter, and I think the next chapter. I only got 2 chapters into this book before I DNF'd it. And really, it all comes down to the fact that there were some common sense, sort of situational things that didn't line up. And in fantasy, sure, you can have certain things that are fantastical, they don't make sense in today's world. But these were things that didn't make sense in any world, in any setting. So this was actually a fairly well-rated book, but I think the writing just fell short a bit. I'm sure it could have been an amazing story, because what got me is it has dragons. Obviously it's Dragon's Kiss, so it has dragons and assassins and all those fun things. I only got 2 chapters into the book, so I don't know fully what's going on, but it's about a assassin thief called Semra. Now, I don't think this is spoilers because it literally happens in the first 2 chapters. But if you don't want to know what happens in the first 2 chapters, I guess you can skip to the next book. So you have our main girl, and she's in these heavy skirts. She's a maid in this mansion castle run by a bad guy. And you've soon learned that she's trying to steal a key from him. Anyway, she manages to wile her way past the guards and into the room where the bloke keeps his key. Now, he always has his key on him, except when he goes into this meeting room. And then he locks it up. But the thing is that he has obviously put the key in this box and then gone to greet a visiting lord or something. Now, the issue is with where this key is hidden. This lord is described as very pompous, full of himself. What, to put the key in the box, which he only has on himself or in the box, he has to crawl under the table. And then the box has this intricate puzzle system to get into it. And so she is lying on her back under this table, doing the little puzzle to undo it. And I'm thinking this pompous lord would not be crawling under the table to lock this key in this box. It didn't make sense to me. But we continue. Now outside the room, there's yells. Somebody's being killed. Got the key. Okay, but now I've got it out because the alarm's being raised. The alarm's going off. So she goes out of the room and she goes and she's running through the hall and then she's like, oh, I'm getting chased. Let me duck into this room. The room has a fountain and pool. She decides she's going to wrap the key in a scarf, hide it in a pot nearby, a potted plant, then jump into the pool and hide under the fountain. Now shortly after, the guards come running in. They can't see her. And it turns out that along the way, the wrong guy got killed. Now she's still hiding in this pool. It's evening. It's late at night. The search has gone on for her. They couldn't find her. Now, there's a guard in the pool room standing across the way a bit. And she decides she has to get out of there. This next bit. She is known to be wearing thick, woolen, heavy skirts. And now those thick, woolen, heavy skirts are wet and even heavier. Or they should be. Now she gets out of the pool. She reaches across and grabs out of the potted plant her scarf and the key. She then wipes herself off with the scarf, and that must be a magical scarf because ShamWow, she is now able to somersault and do all these athletics in this heavy wet skirt to take down the guard at the pool room. She then continues on to then find her way to actually go to the room and kill the bad guy that should have been killed back here. And I was like, it's not realistic. You can't say she's burdened by this skirt and the next minute she's rolling around with a wet, burdenous skirt. She gets out and she meets up with her two assassin buddies. Now the thing here is, the reason why the wrong guy got killed, this is told that this is a really important mission. Like, we can't mess this up. They mess it up by giving this really important task to someone who's known to keep messing up. And supposedly she had like this other senior assassin with her, but I don't know what he was doing, probably sleeping, and the wrong person got killed. Anyway, it was just ridiculous. And so after the first two chapters of me and my brother just laughing at how ridiculous and nonsensical it was, I decided I wouldn't be able to go any further. Stop it. So that, my fellow people, was Dragon Kiss, a DNF. Okay, so this next one I actually got 6 chapters into, and it is The Wood by Chelsea Bobolski. And it is about a girl who used to go through this magical forest with her father. They're like the guardians of this forest. Through different times in history, just these random gates to this forest will open. And sometimes people come in and they get lost, and their job is to stop them from entering a different era that they're not part of, to get them back home. So her father, at the beginning of this book, goes missing. The premise of a magical forest with different time zones and like the guardianship interested me, but it just was a bit slow for me. I couldn't get into it. I didn't love the main character's attitude, and the male character that gets introduced is a bit of what I assume is like a miscommunication, and this bloke is trying to stop something bad from happening, but she's the guardian, so she's like, I'm not out, you go back to where you were from. So, but yeah, it just, like, I don't really have much to say other than the flow of the story just it didn't hold my interest, so it ended up being DNF'd at chapter 6. Now, this next one, as I said, I got through book 1, I soldiered on through book 1, and then I ended up DNFing part of the way through book 2. I actually got this series for last Christmas, and I was really excited because, again, it was a Bookstagram book, and its cover was, like, the covers of the series was gorgeous, and this was like a collection. It was the Air Awakens series by Elise Kober. I had such high hopes. So I was excited to read this series, and then actually I ended up throwing out the book. I couldn't give it to anyone because it was just that bad. And it felt horrible to do. But I had to go with what was healthy, and my conscience would allow me to give that on to for other people to read. So I was in this really bad spot because I'm like, I don't want to throw out a book. Especially when it's like such a chunky book. But sometimes it's for the best. So the premise of this series was that the main character is a librarian. She loves being a librarian. She loves books. And she's just crazy about it. And she's got these two friends and then the library, that's where her life is. She ends up saving this, dark, broody prince through her writing mysterious powers. And it turns out that she may have a long-lost magic. My issue is with what followed. I was excited for a librarian, bookish girl, who, has read so many books. They're usually, book smart. She may not be experience smart, but book smart. So she sort of would be an intelligent lead, an intelligent, strong female lead. But, alas, her character is just really strange. It made me angry. I have never been angry at a book or characters before, but I literally, in my heart, hated every single character except for this one bloke who wasn't the main character. He's a side character, and I could not. I hated the main character. I hated the love interest. I hated literally everyone else. The writing could have been good. There were a few grammar mistakes and stuff like that. But it was prettily written. But what was written was of no substance. In fact, it was quite toxic. For those who do not want spoilers, you can go to the next book. So she's unlocked this power. She's healed the prince through this mysterious power. But she just wants to be a librarian. But in the library, she starts getting these notes. Now, my issue is, I can see that maybe the author, Elise, wanted this relationship that was starting with these letters to be like an academic challenge. Testing the knowledge that she thought she knew in order to open her eyes to this other side of the world. It did not come across like that at all. I hated the person. She was like, oh, let me find out. But he was downtrodden. His challenges were not challenges. They were like, you're stupid. You're an idiot. You should get rid of this power because you don't deserve it. But at the same time, he wouldn't have wanted her to get rid of the power because she's the last of her kind. She should love this new power. But at the same time, he's like, you don't deserve it. You should get rid of it, you idiot. And she just falls for it. And so eventually she finds out that it is the prince, the dark prince, that she's talking to. Now this man takes her up through the towers, and she just follows him. And up they go to the tower, and what do you know? He pushes her off. And she falls down, she's banging into the side of the castle, she's plummeting to her death. And she wakes up days later she's got broken bones. The sorcerers had to be basically standing there putting her bones back together because she was squashed. She was squished. She was ground up and squished. But she survived. And the prince comes along and tells her that it's because her powers awakened. Her air powers awakened. And the thing about this is, it goes on to say that because she saved his life, they ended up having this bond. I flippin' despise bonds, but, you know, they had this bond, and he said that the bond wouldn't allow him to hurt her or put her life in danger. May I remind you that she was just squished, and the sorcerers had to literally bind her back together with magic. And he said, oh, I knew your powers would awaken. And besides, wait for it, air can't hurt you. Same as fire can't hurt him because he's a fire dude. Air can't hurt you. Yeah. Let me spoil this for you. Air can't hurt her. It's the ground and literally everything else. Like falling into a brick. The brick is not air. You know, getting whipped about in a sandstorm. The air might be fine. The sand, not so much. It's just ridiculous. It was so dumb. So he pretty much squishes her up there. Then another point, she can go outside her body. And he pretty much smacks her. So her body and her air self get separated. And she's pretty much dead. Because her soul or whatever is outside her body. She's dead. He just killed her again. But she manages to come back with the help of everything. And so, but he's still like, I cannot hurt you because of the bond. So I've decided he can't kill her. He could do everything up to death though. So he could maim and destroy her physically so that she could she was pretty much a squished body, like a soul in a squished body. But he couldn't hurt her. Anyway, I don't know how it happens, but she ends up fancying the prince. Don't ask me why. And she begins to fancy her own powers, even though she was rejecting sorcerers. She hated sorcerers. She hated magic. She didn't want to be a part of this magic. And it took her a while to come around by reading books and by being around these sorcerers to, come around to the idea that, actually being a sorcerer might not be bad. Now here's the thing. There was a bloke in the library who we know liked her. Anyway, he finds out that she's got this air sorcery. And he is shocked, of course, just as she was in the beginning. He was shocked. He's like, oh, wow. And then he does, as she did in the beginning, looks up ways for her to get rid of her powers. But she comes along, sees him, he's like, look at this, you can get rid of your powers. And she's like, how dare you, this is a part of me. Goes off at him, and the poor lad was pretty much just doing the same thing that she did in the beginning, freak out and find a way to get out of it. And she bags him out, and it's like, how he doesn't understand, he doesn't know who I am. And it was really bad. Now they're at odds. The library bloke and her. Now, this girl, she's a library girl. She doesn't get to go to the noble stuff or do anything like that because that's her character, right? Not anymore. she doesn't like crowds. Well, not anymore. The Golden Prince, which is the Dark Prince's brother, is like, let's get you all dressed up and you can go to this banquet ball. And she's like, woo, yes, let's go to the banquet ball, get all dressed up and do all this stuff. And I'm like, why? This is not in line with her character at the beginning, so I have no idea how she got here. But it's to see the prince, because the prince is leaving. The prince is leaving, the Dark Prince is leaving, and she wants to see him one last time. Now, he has been constantly saying that she's important, her powers are important, and all this. But it doesn't occur to this book smart girl that he will visit her either way, because she's an air nomad. Whatever. She's an air sorcerer. He's not going to be like, okay, well, it was nice knowing you. Glad you have all these important powers. I'm never going to see you again. So anyway, she gets all dressed up in the fancy, like, full makeover scene and goes to the ball under disguise because she's not allowed to be there. So she takes on another identity. Romance blossoms, she's in love, and there's a terrorist attack in the city where she was meant to meet up with Library Boy, but she was never going to meet up with Library Boy, so she sent her friend instead, who liked Library Boy. Anyway, they're both blown up, dead. And she unleashes this giant force, then kills the bombers, pretty much. And then she's arrested, put in jail, and neither the Golden Prince nor the Dark Prince say anything because people that, like, he's a dark sorcerer, nobody likes him. He's the Crown Prince. If he's got not enough power to be like, here's the truth of the matter, she saved my life, not trying to assassinate me, then really, what the heck? So I got through the first book. And I started on the second. I was already really bewildered by this point, but I continued on. Anyway, let's just say Dark Prince continues to be toxic, ignoring her one moment, next moment he's in love. Their relationship was so dumb. And she'd be, one moment she's like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Next moment she's just like, oh, I'm in love. And anyway, she has a misunderstanding. She thinks a girl is with the Dark Prince, and she's not, but they didn't really explain it. Anyway, and this guy has been ignoring her this entire time, only being nice to her when he needs to use her powers, pretty much. That's the only time he's nice. The rest of the time he's just a dunce. And then she's just all lovey-dovey. She's getting along with some of the guard, but then she's like, oh, everybody hates me. And it's obvious that the king is, like, the king of the country is just wants to use her powers. And the prince is just going along with it. It's just really toxic. Truly toxic. And I was telling my mom and brother about it, and they're both like, why are you even reading this? Like, this is bad. And my mom was like, you can't hand this on to other people because this promotes unhealthy relationships. And I was like, yeah, it does. So, although I was ranting to my brother about it because I was just so angry. I hated everyone. And he said, he tells me, look, I understand that sometimes you want to rant, but you don't want me to fix anything. You just want me to go on the journey with you. You just want me to go on that journey. But here's the thing. I do not want to go on this journey with you. So he did not want to hear the journey because it was that bad. But I needed to rant. Air Awakens series. Got to book 2. DNF'd it. And it is just really toxic. And I could go on. I could underline how much it was. So I'm doing all this from memory. I don't have the book anymore. I don't intend to ever look at the book again. But it was bad. And I so wanted to like it because it was sold as like Avatar: The Last Airbender meets medieval times and libraries. And it was not. I gave it 1 star. So this was my review start for Air Awakens. Don't be fooled by the quiet library book girly thrown into magic and intrigue premise. Our main female lead, Vala, isn't the smart, intelligent librarian the intro suggests. The initial force that brings Vala and Crown Prince Aldrich together may have been meant to come across as a kind of academic rivalry and challenge, but instead is dripping with insults, genuine abuse, and downtrodden by the prince towards Vala. Through this, though I was put off and saw red flags waving, flying, our female lead's brain cells slowly escaped her and are replaced with an attraction that is forced and cringe. So, if that doesn't give you a slight insight to how little I liked that book, there's a start. Here's the issue. I sat here in the heat for about 20 minutes recording, and my phone had decided to stop the recording because it reached 15%. And I was just sitting here talking. And I had some banging jokes. I had some excellent jokes. And now they're lost to the void. So other than myself, no one gets to experience that. And honestly, and also I have to sit here in the heat again. Because if I turn on the fan, you guys are going to hear it. And that's just not good enough. So, let's start this again, shall we? Now, this next one is technically not a DNF, but I didn't continue with the series, so I considered it a DNF. And this one is Rowan, the Lochlann Feuds. And it is by author pair Robin D. Marl and Ellie Madison. Now, again, this was an Instagram book pickup. And honestly, what got me was they said the banter was good. The playful banter was good, but it was kind of not insta-lovey, but it was. And spoilers, again. It was one of those books where she likes this one bloke in the first book, and then from the second book onwards, she falls for the dark, broody. It's enemies to lovers, but she was with a different guy in the beginning. And swearing that she loved him by the end of the first book. But the banter was good. It's about Rowan, obviously, and she and her cousin get captured trying to smuggle some sort of liquor across the border. And that's a big no-no. They get caught by this lord, and then they've got to take, because she's the princess of the neighbouring one, they've got to take it to like a central area, so all the different regional lords can decide what to do with her, whether to ship her back or kill her or something like that. Book 1 is just them going from where they get captured to this central committee and her getting judged for her crimes of smuggling liquor. I did like the banter in the beginning, and that's why I stayed with it, but yeah, this sort of insta-love, which was played off as not insta-love, but it was, and this dark, broody, really mean guy she ends up with him in the end, I believe. I looked up spoilers, and it's just not for me. So, again, I did not finish that series, and I don't plan on it. I do not plan on finishing it. So. But I think that's all the DNFs. I've started some books. I guess technically, Clockwork Angel technically is a DNF. I got to page 122 though, and I just reached a bit where it's the double standards thing again, where one character is pretty much judging the main character or thinks he knows everything about the main character, but the moment she's like makes a comment on like an assumption about him, he's like, you don't know me, don't act like you know me. Why are you suddenly like, they just snapped, and I'm like, oh, I cannot deal with them. Like, you're assuming things about her too. You don't see her going, we just met, you don't know me either, so take some of your own medicine, mate. But does she do that? No. So, it's DNF for the moment. Whether I end up finishing it or not remains to be seen. So, Storygraph is still down for maintenance. We're going to stop with the DNF / finished book 1 and didn't like it. I'll be back in a second to tell you about all the books I did read all of and what I rated them all. I've returned, and Storygraph has finished its maintenance, so we're going to go through the books I read. Now, I read the first Deltora's Quest, or reread. I had read it once before, and it's excellent. So it's about Leaf and Barter, and they set off on a journey to collect these gems and make the belt of Deltora whole again. And they meet Jasmine in the first forest they get to, and together with Cree and Philly, these little pets that Jasmine have, they set off on this quest to get these gems and save the country. So the gems got scattered across Deltora by the Shadow Lord, and so now they have to find them all, and each one they have to defeat something, usually, to get the gem from that. It's just a nice quest series. I think it's meant to be like shorter other books, but I just got the big book that covers the entire story, and it's really good. I really love it. I've also watched the anime of it as well, so it's just good fun. And so that's by Emily Roeder. So I read the first one of that, and then I also read the Deltora Quest 2, which is there, and I did not like it. Leaf and Barter were fine and all that sort of thing, but I hated Jasmine in it. It was just, and like, I understand plot-wise there's a reason, but at the same time it's just so idiotic, and I hated it so much. So yeah, I did not like Deltora Quest 2, which again is part of it's like, I think it's 3 different books, but they're combined together, so Shadowlands. It was really sad, because, like, I love the Deltora books 1, and then it's just book 2. But I haven't read Deltora Quest 3, so that's going to be this year. So they travel together to get a flute and to free some prisoners from the Darklands, where the Dark Lord or whatever he is. It just, it wasn't really my cup of tea. Mainly because of Jasmine. that was pretty much the main reason I didn't like it. But it sort of, it took over the whole story for me. So, yeah. So February, I did the Air Awakens, and that really got me off to a bad start in the year, so that wasn't fun. Next up, I finished Little House by Buston Bay on Tide Mill Lane, and I started The Road from Roxbury. And so they are Little House books by Melissa Wiley. They're prequels to the Laura Ingalls books. And so I also read, before I got Storygraph, I also read the Martha years, and these are the Charlotte years. And I actually gifted Mum the entire collection of prequels. So I had them a bit before I gave them to her. So I read some of them. It's about Charlotte, who is the daughter of Martha, and who is the great grandmother of Laura Ingalls, I believe. And I believe it's mostly made up, if not all made up. But it's fun stories to read, and they've got just a bit of lightheartedness, just everyday life, kind of family life, which was fun to read about. I also read Martha Years by the same author as well, and they're good fun. They do have a lot of fairies in it, but I think I'm more accepting of the fairy stories than my dad is. He's like, I'm not gonna read them. I'm like, fairies? What's going on? Then in June, I started reading the Yona of the Dawn series. Yona of the Dawn. What an excellent series this is. Sorry, it's a manga series. And why I like mangas and like visual novels and manhwa is because sometimes with my fatigue, the cognitive and like the focus isn't there for words on a page. It's a bit too much concentration, a bit full on, and these with their pictures and then just dialogue mostly, it's just, it keeps it fun, but also an easier read than a full-on book. And honestly, these stories are excellent fun. First up, we have Yona of the Dawn, which is about Yona, who is a princess in the Kohan. She's a bit naive in the beginning, and in fact, I think sometimes when people read the first bit of this manga, they're like, this is a bit weird, but it very quickly gets better. She's the young princess, and actually her cousin, Suwon, kills her father and takes over the throne, and she is forced to escape with her bodyguard, Hack. And so then they go on this journey to meet the 4 dragons and etc, etc. And so I read from volume 1 to volume 23 this year, and just excellent. My favourite character is Blue Dragon. He's just a good being. He's an excellent being. It has themes of like war, kidnapping, abuse, and drug use, and that sort of thing, battles and stuff. So there is a lot of talk about drugs and the effects of that on the community and stuff like that. So just in case that's a thing for you, but otherwise it's it has a lot of humor, but it also has some sad moments and more serious moments, but it balances it really well. And I'm excited to read more of Yona this year. I also started rereading, I think I got around 6 volumes into Skip Beat, which is, I have read it all before, and it is a favourite. And it is about Kyoko Megami, who followed her true love, her childhood friend, to Tokyo. And she pretty much was supporting him financially, and while he was using her, while he went off and pursued his music career, she was continuously working. And, well, she finds out. And she's a little bit crazy, and so she set out for revenge by joining the showbiz. And along the way, she meets Ren, or Suruga Ren. And because she joins showbiz, and acting specifically, for revenge on Shofua, or Shotaro, he is not impressed by her using showbiz and especially acting as a way to seek her revenge. But our girl does. She does work on that, and so it's a fun little series. As I say, she's a little crazy, but she is loyal to those she loves and lets into her little twisted heart. But an excellent series, so I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the volumes this coming year as well. But if you're looking for like a real world book, manga series, I highly suggest Skip B. Next up, I started reading the Howl's Moving Castle series by Diana Wynne Jones, and so of course I started with Howl's Moving Castle, which is about Sophie, who works in a hat shop for her family, and she gets cursed to be an old woman. And so she leaves the hat shop and travels across to Howl's Moving Castle, which is run by the sorcerer Howl, and chaos ensues. Obviously I got into this series because of the movie Howl's Moving Castle, and it's a fun movie, that one, and so I read this instead. But it is quite different. Howl, I think, is a lot more lovable in the movie. Howl in the books is a bit of a rat bag. He still grows on you, but he's still a rat bag. And Sophie is actually stronger in the books than she is in the movie, I feel. In fact, I love book Sophie a lot. She's nice in both, but it's a different dynamic from the book to the movie. So I gave it a 4.5 stars on the review. And so next in that series is Castle in the Air, which I liked less than Howl's Moving Castle. And it's about a young carpet merchant who buys carpet from a very weird man, and then he goes to sleep and he wakes up and he meets a princess who is being kept by her father in a castle, and she has never seen a man other than her father. And so she's like, who are you? What are you? And so he brings her portraits of all manner of different men, and she decides she wants to be free. But before that can happen, an evil jinn comes in and kidnaps her, as well as many, many other princesses. Our main character, Abdullah, has to go, or wants to go, save his love from the jinn. And he meets this captain and all other things. Now, it is a bit strange. There's certain stereotypes that are used in the sort of Arabian setting, and that's not so great. but it was still enjoyable to me. But yeah, I could see some problems with that book, for sure. And then finally, I read House of Many Ways. It follows Charmaine, who is a bookish girl. All she wants to do in life is to become a librarian at the castle. And that's all she wants to do, is explore the library at the castle. She has no other wishes in life. But she is enlisted by her uncle to go and house sit. And he has a crazy house. Through most of the book, I was like, what is the plot here? But the house is a magical house. Anyway, so if you turn one way through the doorway, you end up in a different part of the house. And if you turn the other way through a different part of the house, you end up somewhere else. And so it's very confusing. And this one bloke, who would be me, because I don't know my left from my right sometimes, he has little strings around his fingers. So that's what happens. And some people find the main character annoying, but I honestly thought she was pretty fun. Bit lazy in some aspects, but she was still a go-getter. So next I read Princess Bride with my brother and his girlfriend. And so my brother did all the funny voices and everything for each character. And honestly, I didn't love the book as much as the movie. Like, I get the humour, but I don't think I liked it as much as some people do, like that satire sort of strange comedy. But I still thought it was good, but it wasn't as good as the movies are. All the King's Horses, and that is by Faith R. Matthewson. And it is a Christian book. And it is about a girl, Eloise. It's a romance. And it's about her journey through depression. How she is honestly in a really bad place. And how she finds healing. There are sort of trigger warnings to abuse and depression and suicidal thoughts, and there are attempts in this book, so that is a warning. I cried. Some things hit home a little too much, and so I definitely had some tears. There were a couple of things that were a bit strange. I only rated it 4 stars, and it was very good, and I felt it handled like the topics quite well, but there's one part in it, and maybe it's me, maybe I am the problem, but the main male character and eventually our female lead character, when they pray, they address God as Papa. So they say, Papa, so-and-so. And I understand that in some parts of the world, they use Papa all the time. But I couldn't get past it, because in my head, whenever I read Papa, it would always, I don't know whether it was a video I watched some point or something, but it always, in my head, was, Papa! Oh, Papa! And that's not really in the realm of praying. It's slightly more reverent or more serious when praying, and all I could think of was Papa, and so maybe that's my problem. I'm sure it's fun. It's between them and God, so. But at the same time, it was a little bit jarring for me, personally. Just another note about this book was the male main character throughout the book. He is known for his helping injured horses and rehabilitating them. But he kind of keeps bringing up those sort of themes when he's talking about the female main character. So I get that it's a theme and, you know, it's horses and that sort of thing, but he kept comparing our main character to the horses. And it was in a way where I was like, but she's not a horse. She's a human being. But he was comparing it a bit too literally. And I don't think it was, like, I understood where the author may have been trying to go with it, but him almost treating her like she had the mind frame of just a horse when the human mind is a lot more complex was kind of strange to me. But it was still a pretty good book. Next up, my dad has been reading the Little House books, the Laura ones, to me, so we finished Little House in the Big Woods together. This is the second book. This is the one we're reading currently. And it's interesting to look back on the books I read on as a child, because there's just, like, it's still fun sort of family dynamics and how they did things back during that time, but there's some weird things in there that I noticed, and some of the grammar and spelling, and there's like words in weird places, but yeah, so it's a little bit strange with that. And some of the dynamics between, like, Mary and Laura, at one point they're having this disagreement because Mary and Laura, like, blonde hair is better than the boring brown hair. And the Ma doesn't help out that situation. She's like, oh, go ask your aunt that just arrived whether she likes golden locks more or brown locks more. And I'm just like, who does that? And Mary is, you know, painted as this angel child, and I know it's from Laura's point of view, so maybe she did think all that, but it's a bit weird reading it. Red Rope of Fate and Royal Magic, so the Elves of Lesser. Now, I did want to finish book 3, but I didn't before the end of the year, so I can only talk about Red Rope of Fate and Royal Magic. So these are by K.M. Shea, and they are clean romance fantasy books. And honestly, they're great fun. I love in these books some of the side characters. Honestly, they're the greatest thing ever. So in this world, they've got this bonding ceremony that confused me at first, but it's between two people. It's like a friendship bond. It's not a romantic bond, it's just a friendship, and so they sort of vow to protect each other and help each other out through life. And so our main girl is, there's no blurb on the back, so our main girl is paired with the captain of the human guard, and their bond is spooky, and they can understand each other when usually elves and humans need translators to talk to each other. So, of course, the elves and humans are all excited because this has never happened before, where they can just understand each other without translators. So it's excitement galore. And so they have to work together, and she is a little ray of sunshine, and he's a bit of a gruff but still caring lad. And so that's book 1, and book 2 is about a different couple, and so it's about one of the characters from the first book, so a prince and the princess of the elves. And so she's sick of being at the elves' plate. The elves don't wield weapons. It's just not what they do, other than a specific, well-trained group. But she wants to learn swords, but she goes to the humans, and so they enter into an arranged marriage. And some chaos ensues. But again, he's slightly bit of a grump, and she's a strong female lead. And their relationship towards the end is just so funny. I loved it. I think we're close to the end of the year. We've only got Stepmother's Marchen Volume 1. And this is about Shuri von, I can't say her last name, Neuschwanstein. And she marries a Marchen when she's a teenager, and he dies shortly after a few years, and leaving his children and the estate and all that sort of stuff under her care. So she lives through her first life, and she doesn't really bond with many. She does her best, she works hard, she learns how to run the estate and all that, but there's a distance between her and the kids. Eventually, through circumstances, she tries to leave, and she ends up in a carriage crash and goes back in time to the day of her husband's funeral. And from there, she decides she's going to make a few different changes and run things a little bit differently. But she is surprised when certain things happen. And so she sneakily starts running things just a smidge different than her first life, to help out the family a bit differently this time through. So really the goal is for her to be happy too. And so that is a wrap, I believe. So let's just run through it. I had 3 or 4 DNFs this year. I read a lot of Yona and Skip Beat, quite a few Little House on the Prairie, a couple of KM Shea books, the physical form of a manhwa and other manhwas. I just didn't record them, which I'll be doing this year. I will be recording and letting you know what I think of them. And now that I've recorded this around 4 or 5 times now, okay, that's a slight exaggeration, I am exhausted. So who knows if this is any good or not, but I'm exhausted. And it's a rough gist of what I've read over 2023. As I say, I'm hoping that 2024 will bring many new books. A different kind of reading approach will help that, as well as doing the YouTube channel. So here's the start of a new year. So if you want to see any specific reading videos this year, let me know. Otherwise, I will mood read my way through the months and hopefully find some humour and great fun along the way. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye bye!
T26